name a few. Like she said, this is kind of a roadmap of the things that we are going to be teaching about and learning about. So in that, when she talked about unforgiveness, can anybody tell me just real quickly what bondage, what that might feel like or look like, unforgiveness? What that might lead to? A person may become what if they have unforgiveness? Resentful, right? Did you say bitter? Yes, those are yes, exactly. So it is important for us to have a real understanding of what is forgiveness and what forgiveness is really about. So that's what we're going to learn about today. So if you'd like to turn to page 14. I say 14 because I know the lesson begins on 15, but there's something I would like to read to you on page 14. It says this, the last paragraph on page 14 says, Christ purchased our victory when he shed his blood for us on the cross. Realizing our freedom will be the result of what we choose to believe, confess, forgive, renounce, and forsake. No one else can do that for us. The battle for our mind can only be won as we personally choose truth. It's a really great paragraph. It really sums up so much right there. Okay, so let's talk about what forgiveness is not. And all of this, by the way, that paragraph, I'm going to contend is like the keys to forgiveness. When you read through that paragraph a couple of times, think about that in terms of what we're going to learn and study about today. So here's what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not saying that what was done is okay. Forgiveness is not releasing the guilty parties from the legal or divine consequences of their behaviors. You know, I think that that's one of the hang-ups. These two, I would say, are a lot of the hang-ups about forgiveness, misunderstandings about it. Because I've heard this time and time again, as I'm sure you have, or even spoken it. I've even spoken to myself. You know, if I forgive them, isn't that just kind of letting them off the hook? Is that really what forgiveness is about? Forgiveness is not something that you have to achieve on your own. You know, if we just merely speak the words because it's our duty, well, God told me to forgive. God said I got to forgive. I guess I better do that. Is that really being right in our heart? Is that really forgiving from our heart? By the way, I have done each of these. I'll just say that right up. You know, over the years, I lived a while, so these are all very familiar. Forgiveness is not kinds of statements for me. Forgiveness is not just merely words to satisfy some legal standard. Again, whether that is with your God, whether that is because parents told you, you've got to forgive, you got to do that. Because if we have gotten into that habit of doing that, that is forgiving from here, not here. And forgiveness is also not dependent on the perpetrator's response or the offender's response. We'll put it in that way. So if I'm forgiving because my hope is that they will say, oh, you know what, you don't need to do that. I was thinking. Again, that's from here forgiving. It's really not from here. You're expecting something in return. Forgiveness is not easy. Forgiveness is not easy. If it was, think about what our world would be like. Would we have wars? Would we have discontent? Would we struggle so much? Would we walk around with freedom or with offense? If forgiveness was easy, we'd all be doing it. And one of the other things that forgiveness is not, that I think gets misconstrued, is forgiveness is not a feeling. Forgiveness is not, well, you know what, I feel like just forgive them. That's okay. I can do that. So forgiveness has nothing to do with any of those things. What forgiveness is, though, is what we really want to concentrate on. So what is forgiveness? Forgiveness is taking yourself out of the judgment seat simply because it belongs to God alone. You know, one of the things that we talked about on Friday that Leisha brought to our attention was, you know, who's in authority? We talked about that all day Friday. You know, who do we serve? And so if God is the God that we know and believe and say that He is the one in authority, then to allow Him to be the judge, how important is that? And I say to allow Him because sometimes it's very easy to get in the way of that. Sometimes it's very easy for us to be the judge. And that's how we can grab hold of an offense and say, well, hold on here. That's not right. That's not right. The thing is that the perspective to help us with that is to think about the things that I have been forgiven. I go before my God and say, you know, Lord, please forgive me for speaking harshly. Please forgive me for the words that I spoke. And Lord, I ask that you forgive me. I know that I am forgiven for that because I am confessing. And the word tells me that if I do that, that I truly am forgiven. And the word also said, so how much more so when we forgive others? Again, the words are here. It is where our heart acts from that is so important. It's the log coming out of our eye. Did you like that sound effect back? Yeah. That's the end of that right there. But you bet that's what he's talking about. You bet that's what he's talking about. It's so easy for us to see others, to see it in others. And it's so blinding for us sometimes to see our own. But you know what? Here's the thing. God provides for us the revelation of being able to come before Him and saying, God, I just want to know where my heart is. Help me to see my heart. And man, that is quick. Holy Spirit's quick about that. You know, you get a little, oh gosh, that didn't sound like what I meant to do. That was a little bit. So God will teach us through this, teach us how that we can go to others, to God, and be able to truly forgive. Forgiveness is also an act of God's grace being poured out through your heart. Think about that. In our human strength, we're not going to be able to do that completely. You know, we fight our flesh. We fight, you know, the battle in the mind is raging sometimes. And there are offenses. I know that you guys know this, but I'm going to tell you something that you all know, and that is that there may be a belief in you, either in the past or right now, that you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm pretty good at forgiving. I'm pretty good at forgiving. But you know what? There's this thing. And Lord, you're going to have to help me. Because I don't know how to do that. I don't think I can do that. In fact, I may even be telling myself, you know what? I can't do that. There's a lot of things I can forgive, but man, I just can't get there. Well, I'm here to tell you that God will provide a way for you to be able to do that. There is no sorrow that heaven can't heal. David Crown. Forgiveness is a result of being transformed into his image. I mean, how often do we say, Lord, I just want to be your hands and feet? And we mean that. We totally mean that. Lord, I just want to, give me eyes to see those that need you. He does that. Lord, I just want to be able to speak words of life into this person who just seems so hopeless. I mean, we ask for those things. The thing is that he also is asking us to clean out our hearts in order to do that even better, even more. He wants us to be wholly his, so he can work, so we can even be a greater reflection of him. And if you think about it, there is no example ever in history that talks about forgiveness, that is an example of forgiveness than what our Messiah, what Jesus Christ has given us. Yeah. Forgiveness is a removal of a significant part of Satan's ground. Oh, let's talk about this for a second. How really hard does the enemy have to work to suggest to us that we have been done wrong? Are you going to let him get away with that? Really? Seriously? Oh my gosh. How awful is that? You poor thing. You know what? That never should have happened. That never should happen to you. What in the world? Where is God letting that happen? Really? He loves you? He, blah, 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 wah, 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 wah. Planting those seeds that say, whatever you do, don't forgive. Whatever you do, don't forgive. You've got oh my gosh, don't you have every reason in the world not to do that? Man. And when we do that, when we listen to that, because we're hurt, because our feelings are hurt, because that is not right. I understand that. I mean, those things were hurtful. Forgiving has nothing to do with how hurt we've been or are. Are we going to stay in that state, and are we going to allow the enemy to work in that so that changes us and how we are with others, or even with ourselves? That's giving up the ground. And it also allows the enemy to continue your hurt. You just get to feel the hurt, and it gets to just go on and on and on. And the next person that comes along that does anything at all, that even resembles that, guess what? It all flows right back. You're hurt just as you were the day it happened. Boom. There it is again. I knew it. If I trust it again, there it is. Getting hurt. But I'm going to tell you that as you learn to forgive, you're giving that ground to God for him to work. And you're taking it away from the enemy, so he has no ground to work on. Forgiveness is an act of the will and saying no to being a servant to our feelings. When we forgive, we're saying yes to God and no to our flesh. If that's our battle, if our battle is with our feelings, okay, so be it. And here's what I know, because I sure have been through this, I still go through this, is I have to sit in that moment with God. That is a for real battle. And saying, you know what, I can feel the hurt, I can feel the pain, and I can forgive. I can do that. Because the lie is that you have to feel okay about it before you can forgive. You can forgive and be in the pain. For sure. For sure. That is a beautiful healing that goes on right there. When that comes together, that is divine. Is divine. Forgiveness is the basic element for deliverance. Or another way of saying it is, forgiveness is the first key to freedom. And each of these teachings that you are going to hear over these next few weeks, that's what these are, in my opinion. These are keys to freedom. And it all starts with forgiveness. It is the foundation of everything. So I'm going to recap just a little bit. So, and again, this is just out of your syllabus, so you can go back and read these. But there are levels of forgiveness. Unforgiveness says things like this: I can't forgive. I can't forgive. And I'm just going to tell you, there's a possibility that there may be a vow that you've spoken, or one that you were hanging on to. A vow that says something like, well, I'm not gonna do da 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 da. And I could be like, mom, that's wrong. Unforgiveness says, this is the voice of unforgiveness. I can't forgive. I cannot forgive, because that would be betraying a relationship. Like, I can't forgive something that someone did to my friend, because that's betraying my friend. I'm just going to stand up for that friend of mine. What happened to them was totally wrong. Or here's another voice of unforgiveness. I'll forgive. Oh, I'll forgive. When they ask me. When they come and ask me, I can forgive them. I'll get that hard. I can do that. Or I'll forgive that, but you know what? I am never going to be able to trust them again. I'll forgive that. I'll let that go. I'll let it go. But I'm not trusting them. Or, here's one. Here's a voice of unforgiveness. I'll forgive, but you know what? They owe me. I'm going to wait on this. There's going to be a form of payment in some way or another. And you know what? We may not ever say that out loud, but that's what our heart's telling us is, yeah, forgive them, but, punish them at the same time. Or I'll forgive, but you know what? I just need justice. As long as they're serving their time, as long as they are making restitution, as long as they are, falling in line, then sure, I can forgive that. Because I can see they're trying to change. I can see that. They're trying to change, so I can forgive them. Or here's one. This is not one that we usually speak out loud. Unless a crime has been committed. I'll say it that way. I'll forgive, but I want justice. If I see that justice is happening, then I can forgive. If justice isn't happening, forget about it. Forget about it. And not only that, but I will forgive, but I want revenge. I want them to suffer the consequences of their behavior. And so when somebody serves a sentence, you want more. Well, they got off light. Well, they got life. Well, you should have more than that. Yeah. I just need a little revenge, God. I just need you to step in here and make it right. Is that really a heart of forgiveness? So remember what forgiveness is? Forgiveness is a choice. Forgiveness says, I choose to give. I choose to forgive and be just as specific as you can. Now, one of the things things I'm going to tell you is that as you think about this, as this gets stirred up in you, I want you to know that when we go through ministry, your ministry leaders will walk you through this. This is not something you have to figure out how to do it, okay? When we go through ministry, we are going to walk you through this process. What is really key for you guys to know today is about what forgiveness is not, which is unforgiveness, and what forgiveness really is, to start grasping the difference in that, okay? And to know that we've got you.